Hi everyone, welcome to my kimchi recipe video. So kimchi is a traditional Korean dish that's fermented, usually eaten cold, and it's one of my favorites. Alright, so for this dish you're going to need a Napa cabbage. Napa cabbages are these like really long vertical cabbages that you can get at specialty like Asian markets. Next, you're going to need one onion. I like to use one whole onion per Napa cabbage. You'll need ginger as well, garlic, of course, scallions. I like to use green peppers in mine, as well as some red chili peppers. For the sauce, you'll need lemons, chili powder. This stuff is very spicy, so be careful when you're using it. You can find it along with the Napa cabbage in like Asian specialty markets. You'll also need coarse sea salt, oyster sauce or fish sauce. I used oyster sauce because it's less of that fishy taste. Crushed red pepper, dill, parsley flakes, black peppercorns, rice vinegar, and sugar. Alright, so first what you want to do is take your Napa cabbage and you're going to cut it in half lengthwise, right down the middle. Once your Napa cabbage has been cut in half, you want to take both of those halves and cut them into quarters. Now for this part, some people actually like to leave the core in and leave the leaves whole and attached together, but I personally like to take the core out and cut my cabbage up into 2-inch pieces or so. We'll give the cabbage leaves a real good washing later on, but for right now, just give them a quick rinse. Next, you're going to want to take a very large bowl of about 5 or 6 cups of cold water. Then you're going to want to take about a cup and a fourth of the sea salt and dissolve it thoroughly. Cut your cabbage into those 2-inch cubes. Then you're going to want to take those cubes and transfer them into the salt water. All right. Once you've taken your cabbage and you transferred it to your salt bath, let it sit and soak for anywhere between 2 to 8 hours, just really depending on how strong you want that salty flavor to be. Remember to come back about every 30 minutes just to give the cabbage a good massage, toss it around in the salt bath, and make sure everything is incorporated really well. You should see the leaves start to wilt. That's how you know they're getting that flavor in really well. Once your cabbage has taken its salt bath, you are going to transfer it to another clean bowl. While you're doing this, make sure to shake the excess salt water off your leaves as much as possible, but do not dump out that salt brine. Do not dump it out, or don't dump all of it out, because we will need it for a later part of the recipe. Once you've transferred your cabbage over, make sure to give it a really good rinse. So I like to rinse my cabbage 3 or 4 times since I let it sit in the salt bath so long. Yeah, this will definitely be a lot easier if you use a colander or a strainer, but hey, work with what you got. All right, while your cabbage is taking its salt bath, you can go ahead and make the paste for the kimchi. So first, what you're going to want to do is mince up some ginger and some garlic. Use as much as either as you'd like, just depending on the flavor. Then you're going to want to cut up your vegetables into very, very, very skinny slices or strips. That way it incorporates really, really well with the kimchi paste. Also, be really careful when handling chilies, peppers, chili powder, anything like that, because this stuff is very spicy and it can and will cause chili burn if you are not careful. Now for the fun part, making the kimchi paste. All right, so in a food processor, you're gonna wanna take the chili powder. This is about 3.5 ounces. Be very careful. Like I said earlier, this stuff is super spicy and you will inhale it like I did if you are not careful. You're gonna add a splash of sugar next. Then we're gonna add our seasonings. So we're gonna add our black pepper here, as well as our dill, fresh dill, dried dill, doesn't matter, whatever you like to use. Parsley flakes. And y'all, I apologize in advance. I don't really use measurements. I just kind of sprinkle and shake until it feels good. I like to add a little celery salt and celery seed in mine as well. Some crushed red pepper, always does the trick. And some sesame seeds. All right, so for our liquids, we're gonna add some water. Keep some water handy because you wanna make sure it gets to a pasty consistency, and I like to add water rather than adding dry ingredients. Squeeze some lemon in there, some rice vinegar, splish splash of that, your oyster sauce or your fish sauce. Some people also like to use pickled anchovies, tiny little pickled shrimp. It just really depends on what your tastes are. And lastly, we're gonna add in that garlic and that ginger that we minced up earlier. All right, you're going to blend all of that together until you get a paste-like consistency. If it's too thick, feel free to add more water. If it's too soupy, more dry ingredients. All right, so we're gonna add those vegetables that we sliced earlier, the onions, the peppers, and the chilies, and we're gonna take our kimchi paste mix and we're gonna add it right to the mixed vegetables. For this next part, please, please, please put on gloves. Chili burn is so real. It's the most painful thing. It lasts for several hours and chili residue gets on whatever you touch. Your eyes, your clothes, your phone, the ingredients you're touching, everything. So please, please, please wear gloves for this. All right, now once you're gloved up, you're gonna want to add your paste to the vegetables. Make sure you get all of it in there. You see how it's that nice, thick, pasty consistency. It's not soupy, it's not watery, and it's not super dry. So that's what you're looking for when you're blending. Mix it all up really well. Make sure it's incorporated really good. Make sure all the vegetables are getting covered in the paste. Once your kimchi paste and vegetable mix is made, you're gonna add it straight to your cabbage. Keeping your gloves on, keep those gloves on, everybody. You're going to toss this vegetable paste mix with your cabbage. You're gonna want to incorporate it really, really well. Make sure you dig down deep towards the bottom, pull the cabbage up, toss it. You just want to make sure everything gets nice and coated evenly. Oh my God, I could eat it now. All right, so our final step is going to be the fermenting. So you're going to want to take a very large container, airtight container. Some people use Tupperware. I like to use this ceramic Lodge crock pot because I think it's so cool. And some traditional Korean recipes call for using a clay pot similar to this one. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your kimchi and you're just going to dump it all into the pot. You want to make sure I like to layer mine kind of evenly. Once again, keep your gloves on for this because this stuff is still spicy. So once you've patted your kimchi down, making sure you get any like little air pockets out of it, you're going to take some of that saltwater brine from the salt bath that you saved. And you're going to pour it into the kimchi mix just enough to cover it. Don't submerge it, don't drown it or anything like that. But you just want to watch the liquid go right over the top of the kimchi. Once the saltwater brine's in, you're going to want to cover your container and store it in a cool, dark place. You can ferment your kimchi for about 48 to 72 hours. It just depends on how strong you want the taste to be. I usually let mine sit for at least 3 days before I start eating it or using it in recipes because I like a very, very strong kimchi. Ooh, look at that. Me sneaking a bite when I thought the camera was off. Very impatient. But yeah, so that's your recipe. Use it for anything you'd like, just as a simple side dish in fried rices. Anything really, kimchi is great for, and it's healthy.